And in terms of that, because I've interviewed so many different people within the industry of so many different skills and expertise levels, and it seems as though the onboarding is just is one of the most frustrating but kind of essential aspects of this kind of planning software. So, I mean, just out of my own sheer curiosity, I mean, when it comes to onboarding, I mean, how can we get more people involved? Because it seems to me that it is an industry-wide issue of people are just holding on to those spreadsheets, and it doesn't matter how much value you can explain. It's just the change management is very complex and problematic for this process. So, do you have any observations on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always pushback when you move from one process to another, even if the new process is dramatically more beneficial. You always have that. I mean, no one likes sort of new technology. I got my latest note from my iPhone saying, "Hey, you're going to be upgraded to operating system 17.1." I think, oh no, what's that going to do? I mean, we all have this natural aversion to change. But I think, a couple of things. First of all, unfortunately for manufacturers, we now sort of see a greater pressure for a new level of agility, a new level of optimization and efficiency being driven by the constant disruption. The COVID pandemic was a turning point in terms of, we'd never seen disruption like that before. But I think what it did was it proved to a lot of people that were perhaps on the fence about change that they needed to do it. And since that, it doesn't matter. It's not COVID. If it's not COVID, it's Brexit. If it's not Brexit, it's a container ship stuck in the canal. I mean, disruption is sort of a new normal, as people have said. I don't like that term, but it's true. Effectively, most companies sort of now see disruption as a constant versus an exception. So it's forcing companies to change. It's forcing manufacturers to change because spreadsheets just do not, manage the job effectively anymore. And so, unfortunately, like I said, I think most companies are now saying, well, it doesn't matter if we don't like change. We have to change, or we're going to wither and die as a company. So most companies have made, the internal sort of the switch has been flipped to say, we need to look for something else. But I think when I hear some of the pushback from people saying, they say, so, we have to centralize our data now, or we have to build integration to our ERP system, and but I always push back and say, okay, so that's something you're going to have to do in implementing new technology. There will be new integration, but was it easy, to constantly send spreadsheets back and forth? I mean, how long did you spend trying to find the right spreadsheet? And what happened when the spreadsheet information was out of date and you have to send emails back and forth? I mean, I think people are replacing, a frustrating process with something which is initially perhaps frustrating in terms of your new onboarding and getting used to something new. But I think the trade-off is dramatically better in the long run. I mean, I don't think anyone would in the long term sort of look back and say, I wish we were sending spreadsheets back and forth. That was such a better process. I mean, it just isn't. So there always is a little bit of an onboarding, sort of hurdle to get over. But as soon as people see the fact that, you mean I can just drag and drop this order that came in as an emergency order onto my schedule, and it will replan it for me, and I can just send this out and everyone sees it because everyone's got access to the same sort of information. I mean, that quickly replaces the any sort of concern there was about onboarding or change, because the impact, especially for companies that are going from a manual or sort of legacy process to the sort of next generation of automation and technology, is dramatic. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Right. Well, keeping on that subject, so sort of kind of appealing to reason. So what exactly? So just to put it as bluntly as possible. So if people were to go forward with DELMIA ORTEMs, what is the value and what are the benefits to implementing this software in terms of, you name it, KPIs, on-time delivery, you name it. So just what are some of the value pieces that people need to know?
Yeah. So I think there's quantifiable KPIs, and then there's qualitative KPIs, and the qualitative KPIs come around just a tremendous increase in planning efficiency. Again, think about the fact that if companies are mainly struggling with dealing with disruption and change, even if it's positive disruption like increase in orders or unexpected orders that are coming in, it's tremendously difficult to evaluate and develop a plan based upon this change. When change, from a scheduling perspective, change happens almost daily. A new order drops in, a machine breaks down, a supplier shorts our raw materials. Every time that happens, you have to go through a process of saying, okay, what's the impact? What is it? What does that mean for our orders? How do we respond to it? What can we do? All of that's done in seconds using optimization. And so the efficiency level in terms of qualitative, sort of KPI is dramatic. And so you see people that spend days and days, developing schedules or trying to react to schedules, now doing that in minutes or an hour at most. Quantitatively, what that means is you're better able to meet unexpected demand, or if you have a machine breakdown, you're able to plan around that and still see the impact. So so you mentioned some of the KPIs that are critical there. So delivering on time in full, reducing waste in terms of being able to schedule around unexpected breakdowns, or reducing inventory, because if you know exactly what you're going to be able to do and what you're going to be able to fulfill, you start moving towards a just-in-time model versus a just-in-case model. So companies that don't have a good level of confidence around their schedule or plan or meeting production limits will tend to overproduce just in case. But that leads to waste, that leads to excess cost, excess inventory. So we can reduce all of that by making a more confident decision while still keeping that KPI of customer service or fulfilled orders as high as possible. So we see an increase in customer orders. The ranges vary dramatically, but are all impactful. Double digits increase in customer order fulfillment, while at the same time reducing cost and waste, and reducing the work in process and inventory that we need to fulfill it, because we can be really precise and critical about what we do. Being more efficient with the manufacturing process also helps with sustainability issues and ESG governance. And so, particularly companies that are running very energy intensive operations, like if you have furnaces or heating operations, something which consumes a lot of energy, the more effectively you can plan and utilize those resources without them running empty or you're consuming electricity, is a tremendous boost to overall sustainability and reduction of cost and waste as well. So numerous qualitative and quantitative improvements just from being able to more effectively develop a plan and then replan on demand to take into account disruption as it occurs.